When you can't see the big picture, just do the next right thing. Welcome back, dudes. This is our third lesson in the series Big Picture, focusing on the life of Joseph. In lesson 1, we focused on the fact that remembering that there's a bigger picture plays such a huge role in our important relationships in our life. In lesson 2, Ryan reminded us that God is always with us, and He's always working on a bigger picture. Today's lesson is when we can't see the big picture, let's just focus on doing the next right thing. As I've mentioned before in this series, it's really hard sometimes to not focus on what's happening to you right now and then remember that there's a bigger picture at play. But today's lesson breaks it down a little simpler and just has you focus on what can you do next. How often do you do the right thing? Sometimes we know the right thing to do, but we do the opposite. Sometimes we don't even know what the right thing is. Let's be real. Doing the right thing often isn't easy, and it's usually not as fun. Doing the right thing often costs us something. I'm not talking about time and money, although those are things that can cost. But really, I'm talking about relationship status, reputation, even freedom. The examples are endless. We all know and understand well that the right thing to do usually is to obey our parents, but how many of us actually struggle with doing that? I mean, cleaning our room, is that a fun thing to do? Taking out the trash, dishes, laundry? We know full well that the right thing to do is to accomplish those things and do what our parents have asked us to do. But it's not that easy, is it? In those moments, we weigh out the decision. Is it worth doing the right thing? But sometimes it's not as easy. Maybe your friend is asking you to do something that you know is not right or good for you. But you really like this friend. They're really cool, and you don't want to lose your relationship with them. Doing the right thing often has a cost. So it was for our boy Joseph. Now, if you've been reading up on Joseph like we asked you to, you know that this guy had some crazy stuff happen to him. If not, pause the video and go read it. In weeks 1 and 2, we talked about all the drama that Joseph had with his family, particularly with his father and his brothers, and that's where we pick up the story today. So here we have Joseph, sold by his family into slavery to a foreign country. He ends up working for this guy named Potiphar. Now it should tell us some things about Joseph's character, that instead of wallowing in the self-pity of woe is me, I can't believe what's happening to my life, that the next thing we find out is that he's risen in authority amongst the slaves for Potiphar, and he becomes Potiphar's right-hand man. Potiphar's put him in charge of a lot of different things. He's earned this guy's trust. But as is the roller coaster life of Joseph, he doesn't remain on top for long. Things start to get real shady in Potiphar's house. Potiphar's wife starts to make advances towards Joseph. Yes, those advances. And Joseph once again finds himself in a very sticky situation. If he goes along with her, he betrays Potiphar's trust. But doing the right thing is going to upset her. And though he knew it would cost him, he still chose to do the next right thing. Now again, those of you that know the story know what happened to Joseph. But those of you that haven't read it, again, go read it. Now the point we're trying to make here is that Joseph chose to do the next right thing, even though he didn't know all the details of God's bigger picture at play in his life. God has huge things in store for Joseph. And all the events of his life, the good ones and the bad ones, are all things that God needed him to go through in order to get to the point where God could do those big things. They were all a part of God's bigger picture. Again, we don't always see the bigger picture. We don't know what God is going to end up doing in our lives. But just like Joseph, we can still do the next right thing. And if the cost of doing that next right thing is huge and difficult, we can still trust that God's got that bigger picture in store for our lives. Let me leave you with one more thing. This is Proverbs 3, verse 5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. God bless, guys. We'll see you next week.